Tonight on Wrasslin Court, CM Punk, AEW, who caused all the problems, who was the trouble, who made the drama happen, and who's better off nowadays for it. The lawyers are going to get into it. It's going to be a fun one. Get in that chat. We are live. All rise. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Court is now in session. It's going to be a fun one tonight as we have the plaintiff, AEW, the Elite, taking one CM Punk, a.k.a. Phil Brooks, to court tonight. We have plenty to get into. According to my reports here, the plaintiffs are claiming the defendant CM Punk of causing bodily harm, disrupting the workplace, causing one to fear for their life, and being an overall asshole. But the defendant in the case has a counter suit as he will be suing for alleges of, what do we got here? Sabotage and wrongful doing, wrongful dismissal, as well as defamation of character. So, folks, remember, get in that chat, hit all those buttons, be a part of the Wrasslin Court tonight. We have a full case, a full docket. Of course, I am Judge KJ. Anthony will be representing the Bucks in AEW. Big Nick's got CM Punk and the T-shirt to go with it.
Right. Whoa. Clobbering time.
But it's going to be a fun one here at Wrasslin Court tonight. You guys get to be the witnesses. Any questions you want to put to Anthony or Big Nick, put them in the chat. Remember, super chats are guaranteed to get clicked on. And beyond that, at the end of this, I will turn to the chat and we will get a decision. Who was in the wrong? Finally, this has been going on for a couple years. I see a mess of a report here. Lots has happened, but we will start with opening arguments on both sides. Anthony, the floor would be yours, sir.
Your Honor, here is my opening statement about the state of AEW and CM Punk. So the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team in the world. They are EVPs of a great company, and CM Punk infringed on AEW's greatness. Couldn't hold a title, injury prone, and then they created a whole show for him just to be fired in the end. CM Punk is a backstage distraction with a big ego. This has been proven time and time again, even with his last run in WWE. The man gets fired from every company he is with. CM Punk, quite frankly, should not be in wrestling and just live in seclusion for the remainder of his life. It's almost guaranteed that he will mess up this current run in WWE.
Well said. Well said. The floor is yours, Mr. Big Nick.
I was going to say, on one hand, I first just want to object and call bullshit on everything that man just said.
Not allowed.
I know I can't say that, so I will say my opening statements. I would be remiss to sit there and say that my client has had a perfect track record. We know that CM Punk is very blunt, abrupt, abrasive at times with his interactions and everything like that. But he's also managed to apologize for it and reconcile with that, as we see with his current WWE run and everything. I feel 100% that the EVPs and the owner of AEW caused and created the work environment that caused the outbursts of one Philip Brooks. Absolutely. One EVP should not be abusing their power like this to spread rumors and take shots at your current world champion, your biggest draw in the company, mind you. So 100% the prosecution, the All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan and the Bucks have no one to blame for what happened but themselves.
Mm.
All right. Okay, good opening start. But we'll remind the chat, get in there, let us know what you're thinking about this. How do you feel? What is your opinion? But what we will do to kick this one off is we will go to the prosecution for your first bit of evidence.
All right, let's bring up the picture of Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks together.
I'm glad you asked for that.
So once there was a happy time in AEW where we had three young gentlemen starting a company with Tony Khan. Yes, we had a small fracture with Cody Rhodes leaving and departing with AEW, but he has no ill will towards AEW according to some of his last statements regarding AEW. But with Cody Rhodes leaving, someone else showed up called CM Punk. And as soon as he landed on the scene, there were issues. My 2 cents here is that CM Punk is the common denominator to all of this discourse with AEW, the Young Bucks, and the tribalism that has infringed upon the WWE and AEW fandom. Today, I'm standing on my word that CM Punk is the distraction in the wrestling world. AEW was perfectly fine before he stepped on the scene. And when he stepped on the scene, that's when the AEW haters and doubters came out of the woodwork to just rag and bag on AEW. This all started with CM Punk, and today we will all end it with CM Punk.
So, can I go?
Shoot.
Sorry. Council. But so why is Cody Rhodes no longer with AEW? Isn't he currently a WWE performer? And wasn't there speculation that there was tension between him and the Young Bucks and one
Speculation is
Tony
not
Khan
fact.
as to why he left the company?
Speculation is not facts.
Fair enough. You can have my comment stricken from the record, but you can't
Yes,
have it stricken from the witnesses' ears, Your Honor.
Witnesses, we will ignore that statement as it is speculative and has no basis in fact.
But so you mentioned about when CM Punk got to AEW and everything, and how that's instantly when everything started and all of that. But he showed up on a Rampage on August 20th, which did the highest rating in Rampage history with 1.129 million people watching. And even just his entrance alone had 18 million clicks on YouTube on the AEW channel, by the way. So we're profiting on CM Punk being in the company, but we're saying that he's the big problem and the big cancer and everything in this issue. Just his first words on the microphone, 7.6 million views on YouTube, but this man's a problem. I don't know where I see an issue here with any of this. So I feel out the gate, if you're saying that this issue started once he got there, what grounds do you have to say it started right out of the gate?
Do we have any backstage issues before CM Punk?
I mean, we have Big Swole who got ignored and has very much we've had this whole track record going on of to where you kind of get ghosted. We still see this practice going on today with one Ricky Starks, who also, by the way, happened to say he didn't mind working with CM Punk. So coincidence? I think not.
I still stand on the ground that there wasn't much happening backstage and revealed backstage until CM Punk came along.
Because no one outdrew the Young Bucks and no one was a top draw in that company until CM Punk showed up. I literally just said number by number, breakdown by breakdown of they split it up of this man's entrance and when he talked, and both of them had over millions and millions of views on them.
Could he be a big draw and be causing problems?
I think if I can bring into my first slide of evidence here,
okay, I'll allow
Hangman and CM Punk, their initial confrontation before their match for the AEW World Title, I think this is where initially confrontation, conflict, and issues took place within AEW and everything. Because one, Hangman Adam Page was fed a bunch of lies about one CM Punk trying to get Colt Cabana fired from AW, who's still gainfully employed there, by the way. Just bear that in mind. To where he's mentioning about, I need to protect AW from you. Of this wasn't completely off the cuff here. So you can take that down, Your Honor.
I'm working on it.
Okay, fair enough. But so I will ask you, counsel, couldn't it be that maybe Hangman Page is the one that started the issue with CM Punk?
Ooh.
I still go back to the theory of if CM Punk was never there, we wouldn't have even
Theory,
had
Your
that
Honor,
moment.
theory. He said what I said was speculation, so we're having theories.
strike
Sustained.
Well, then I'll rephrase. Counsel will rephrase.
Mm-hmm.
Allowed.
If CM Punk was not there, this would have never happened.
Oh,
Because-
cool. If someone was never there when they got shot, they wouldn't have gotten shot. No shit. Like if he wasn't there to get hurt,
Hey,
he wouldn't have got hurt.
I will, move the council to, behave.
Sorry, Your Honor, I
It just goes
apologize.
back to the point that the drama didn't start until CM Punk arrived.
Jealousy.
And then do we know who started the rumor? Do we know who started the rumor and the backstage things that made Hangman Adam Page say those things? Was that confirmed? That actually could have came from CM Punk's mouth himself, and he's just hiding behind it. There's an old saying that says, throw the rock and hide your hand. He threw it out there and was like, no, it wasn't me. Hangman decided to do this on his own.
If we can, I'll jump evidence here then, because I was gonna wait to bring. Go ahead.
Well, wait. That's fair. That's fair. I'll leave it to Anthony. Are you okay passing the buck and letting this gentleman pull up another picture?
Yes.
What do you got?
Well, no. I was gonna pull up a video of the altercation from All In, and I will go here with this. To me, if this, I will admit, pre-warning on this, I will admit that my client has some faults in this. He has admitted to this. He has apologized for this. He has rectified of this. He has spoken about this publicly. So I will admit that. I feel the situation was predicated on this, but I think it also shows that it's spelled out in an interview that he did that he was completely honest with this on something that does not show him in a good light. So why would he hide that he's the one that started this rumor with Colt Cabana and everything, if he's going to be willing and open and honest and talk about himself in something that doesn't shine him in a good light with all of this, and be completely open and candid about it?
All right, I'm gonna have to stop you there, counsel. I'm starting to get heavy-eyed. Let's go with so you want me to play the tape?
Please.
All right, let's see. Better be good. You can talk if you want to talk.
Well, no, I was letting the footage show here, because you see, obviously, my client there being confronted by Jack Perry after the infamous Real Glass situation at All In here. And again, he spoke about this in his interview with Ariel Helwani, literally exactly what happened here. And you will see my client get into a physical altercation with one Jack Perry, who's still currently, again, employed with this company and currently getting pushed by this company in a top angle.
Did the men in the yellow and black shorts have an opinion on this situation?
I believe he did, but I cannot recall the statements at this time, Your Honor.
I'll accept that.
But we see the minor physical altercation.
Ooh.
Minor. Okay.
But we see already the situation has been defused. And again, though, like I said, my client was open and honest about this, and they even showed the footage back and was completely candid about this. So why would he hide, false narratives before all of this when he's being openly and honest about something that doesn't show him in a good light?
Mr. Anthony,
before I answer that question, am I allowed to pull the evidence of that video back up again?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. This is the big piece of evidence here, folks.
Are we able to? Is this at the beginning?
This is the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
The controls are limited, so we're just
All
gonna
right.
have to walk
So,
through it.
all right. So now you can pause. We can bring that video down.
Okay.
From my knowledge, CM Punk was the one to confront Jack Perry. You stated that Jack Perry was the one to confront CM Punk. Video evidence shows that Jack Perry was minding his own business and CM Punk interjected. Again, CM Punk was, and this is factual, he was known to get involved with Jack Perry and his decisions with what he wanted to do with a specific match. It goes back to saying that all of this still revolves around CM Punk being in everyone's business when he doesn't need to be in everyone's business. Show up and wrestle just like you're doing, showing up in wrestling or not wrestling because you're always injured, and we'll get to that in a moment. But showing up, doing your job, and going home. But you are showing up, getting in people's businesses that you don't belong in, and getting involved. Okay, so that's claim number one.
That's fine.
Back,
you still haven't answered my question, but okay.
I was just about to get there.
Well, that normally you answer the question first, then get another extra statement.
I make the rules, and I let him be long-winded for once.
I am going to ask Big Nick to repeat his question so I can answer.
I'll allow it, counsel. Hilarious.
So the initial question and everything that was brought up was you accuse CM Punk of being the one. This is how we got to here initially, is you accuse CM Punk of putting this bug in Hangman Page's ear about the Colt Cabana story and everything like that. And then I brought up this saying, well, why would he hide something like that just ridiculously when he shows something and talks about it openly and candidly and doesn't hide anything, doesn't pull punches, is completely honest and open about this, with it still not showing him in the best of light. I was not arguing that this didn't show him in a great light. I was arguing that why would he hide other things?
Okay. We have NDAs involved, don't we?
Oh.
But they didn't sign it. We didn't sign any for anything. We did.
Oh. Now, as the judge, I would like to point out that sometimes it's a little tricky that just because you're open and honest and candid about a crime doesn't mean you didn't commit said crime, sir.
Like, my bad. Grounds, Your Honor. Grounds.
Quickly, going to the witnesses. There's some good witnesses I want to touch on here. But Mr. Anthony, in your opinion, was Jack Perry in cahoots with AEW to have him accused to fire Mr. Punk?
Oh, good question. I don't think so because he was indefinitely suspended.
And is currently in a prime position, almost was given a championship belt last night on television and everything, is now in cahoots with these fellow EVPs and in a storyline with Tony Khan, but it had nothing to do with it. Okay.
But does Jack Perry make up the storylines? No, that's Tony Khan. You can't blame that on Jack Perry.
The start of Tony Khan, the whole attack and everything was
Jack Perry on Jack Perry being in a prominent storyline. If saying that he could have been involved, Jack Perry doesn't write the show. Tony Khan does.
And Tony Khan is part of the prosecution.
But
Tony Khan is part of being alleged.
Order. Relax, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a pill. Let's take a pill. All right, one at a time, so I have any clue of what either one of you were saying. But just to go along with this narrative, a couple witnesses have come forward. Where was it? Nick B. No elite in sight in the surveillance footage, and further to that, where was it? Did the elite instigate this altercation? So I will put that to you, Mr. Nick.
Fair enough. We might have to do some backtracking here, but if you allow me to do that.
Okay. I'm on the roller coaster with you, buddy. Let's go.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, no, if we can pull up, I have to remember which slide it is that I have here. It's the slide from CM Punk at Collision with the wrestling boots over his shoulders. Right. So this is after the infamous Brawl Out and everything. When he comes back from his suspension, we have yada yada. He takes shots at the Bucks and everything like that, which we can get into the whole Brawl Out situation, I'm sure, at some point here. But let it be known that this man already tried to leave the company before this show even started, before this led to the altercation between him and Jack Perry, because he was trying to do a spot with real glass and destroy a rental car on Collision, which the elite, who should be the bosses here, let's not forget this, these are the people who run the company, not an employee of the company, sit there and allow this man to pretty much feel like he ran the show, had no control over it, or tried to have control over it, but still just left it up to him and everything, and then got mad at him when he wanted to run it his way. But that's finishing up my statement. The pictures were throwing me off the rapid fire.
That's like the wheels. So that is your final conclusion on that?
That is my statement on that. Of that, we got to this altercation with Jack Perry at All In because he was given his own show that he already didn't want, that he was already requesting to leave from this company because he knew that people didn't want him there. But Tony Khan, again, this is not just the Young Bucks, this is Tony Khan included, still wanted to keep him there, still feared for his life, but is still out here in front of literal flamethrowers and everything with Jack Perry, mind you. But yes, sir.
And the elite, just to be clear.
Right.
And this is the Tony Khan you speak of?
Mm-hmm. In his 30 years of being at wrestling shows, he has never feared for his life more than also what we saw in that footage, by the way. But this is also the same man that's taken a Tony Khan, formerly known as a Meltzer driver, from the Young Bucks because of Jack Perry turning on him, has now since hyped up his whole neck brace across the NFL draft, was, like I said, just this past weekend, literally in the line of fire, but never once feared for his life in any of those situations. But the bad man from Chicago yells at you and you fear for your life.
All right. There was a lot to unpack there.
Yes. Sorry.
I think Anthony's, are you smiling or did you freeze?
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm still here.
Well, witnesses, get in the chat. Let us know what you think of all of that. Anthony, what do you got?
I feel like I don't even have to answer the first part because the last part didn't even make sense. Why are we talking about a storyline involving Tony Khan being fake injured because it's a storyline, then an actual event that happened?
I don't know. That doesn't look like no fake flamethrower to me.
An actual physical fight that happened backstage between two wrestlers, two actual human beings that were not in a storyline.
Again, Your Honor, or your counsel, that's very much a real flamethrower that he's out there putting himself in danger of and all of this. But if someone yells at you, you fear for your life.
Do you believe
if it depends on how the voice is, how it's projecting it.
This is the owner of the company, the boss of the company. This point is being missed on everything here. This is the executive vice president and the owner of the company and an employee of the company. This is not how management should be acting. Sorry.
One thought at a time, counsel. Put your pants on. Now you made me forget what the point was. The first issue being whether or not there was reason to believe that Tony Khan legitimately feared for his life. So I'll leave that to Anthony first, and then I think there was more.
Okay, so we're going back to legitimately fear for his life. Now, in the video,
claim that your client legitimately feared for his life.
Now, in the video, we didn't see Tony Khan, right? So we don't really know where Tony Khan was sitting. We can assume he was behind that that looks like it was glass and monitors were set up. So we can assume Tony Khan was sitting in there. Just saying assumed because in episodes of Dynamite and Collision, like this past week when I think it was on Double or Nothing, when he was dragged out, he was sitting behind some monitors. So I'm just using the assumed as this is potentially where he was sitting. Now, as me, and I'm using me as an example, if I'm sitting in that position and I am seeing two grown people, two grown men fight right in front of me, I would technically myself fear for my life. This is not an angle. This is not a part of the show. This is not a storyline. These are two grown men fighting right in front of me. I would potentially fear for my life. Now, after the altercation with Punk and Jack Perry, I'm being told that Punk and Tony Khan had exchanged words. If Tony Khan was in a calm state and CM Punk was not, which we can clearly see he was not in a calm state, I would fear for my life too.
You are the
prosecution
owner
part.
of the company. Get a handle on your.
Well, I mean, counsel, in all fairness, him being the owner doesn't negate the fact that he could be a pansy enough to get scared.
I will digress on that, Your Honor. I will cede the point on that.
I'm just saying. What else we got? Objection on there being issues, immediately having issues with Punk got there. So I guess this one.
How this started.
Well, the idea that immediately, like there was, do we feel like there was a honeymoon phase? Like, did things start well for your client, Mr. Nick?
Oh, absolutely. Again, if you'll allow me to go to the Dynamite ratings of it's millions down the board here and everything. Once he got there, everything seemed great. I mean, he was going to challenge for world titles. We were out here arguing of, is he putting over the young guys too much because he's having matches with Lee Moriarty and Darby Allin? Does that seem like a guy who really wants to? And this is that Darby Allin then. This isn't current Darby Allin.
Right.
Does that seem like a guy that really is out there of, I got to make this all about me? Or does this sound more of like people got mad that they were getting outshined, they were getting outdone, they were getting outdrawn, and they're the ones that made this company. And so we're going to start putting some little buzz around. We already know that this guy's got a hot temper, that he's known to be causing issues. So it's not going to take much to create a narrative like that.
Fair enough. Prosecution.
So, you mentioned ratings.
Mm-hmm.
What does ratings have to do with the backstage drama?
Well, normally when the backstage drama is kind of fucking carrying over, as we've seen, once this situation carries on to where the ratings decline, it tends to carry over and bleed into the on-screen product. So I will say that. I will see where you're going with that, but I will at least counter with that.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Should I bring up, by the way, where the current ratings are, if we'd like?
Well, counsel does not have to ask whether or not he should present evidence. It is incumbent on him.
Okay, well, I'll just here on a sidebar present. So as of,
is this part of your case, sir?
It is to show where we've gone from here of no CM Punk of now where we are to where CM Punk, the backstage problems gone, and now where we're at under with all of this great storyline with the Elite of now as of last night, we're at 787,000 viewers, hanging around constantly in this past month about the 700 to high 600,000 viewer mark when we were at 1 million consistently with CM Punk there.
Prosecution.
I don't have any rebuttal to that.
Neither you can have that. That ain't what I'm at.
All right. I believe it would be Anthony's turn. Prosecution, if you have anything you want to touch on evidentially. Is that a word?
All right, let's see if I have anything else.
Do you believe you have a letter here in my file?
Yes. let's go ahead and bring up this letter, which seems like this is a letter CM Punk receives from a bunch of wrestling companies at one point in his career. This is a termination letter that he had received before, I believe it was All Out. I get those two pay-per-views confused. I'm sorry, and I'm supposed to defend AEW, but I believe this was All Out. He received this before the All Out in Chicago. Fired.
Also, they let him go on September 4th, the collision before All Out.
Correct. So this is the fired letter from Tony Khan. That night on Collision, he did come out and tried to soothe the fans. Went on with the show without a hitch. Don't really believe there are any CM Punk chants. I believe that episode of Collision was actually really good. Collision itself was created, and you can now take the letter down. Collision was essentially created for CM Punk. This was supposed to be CM Punk show to get away technically from having the Young Bucks and CM Punk on the same show, which would be Dynamite, which I don't have a picture here, but Dynamite airs every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So we do know that CM Punk did try to leave. Yeah, we do know that. And this happened before Collision was started. Collision started. We had the incident. He is fired. Collision today is still around. Not with the best of ratings. Not with the best of ratings that they did have with CM Punk. I can't admit to that. Defending AEW, the ratings are not looking good. But almost a year without CM Punk being involved with AEW, it seems like AEW is running smoothly, just like it was prior to CM Punk being there. I still stand on my decision or my thought process of AEW was fine before CM Punk and AEW will be fine after CM Punk. And it seems like AEW is fine after CM Punk.
Your Honor, can the council define fine? Because as I pointed out, that the ratings are in a decline. We're seeing people leave the company at an accelerated rate. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I got you. But counsel, would you want to elaborate on the fact of what you would define as operating fine?
We still have 2 weekly television shows. Actually, we have 3 weekly television shows. We still are having a great turnout with crowds every week, and our shows are still running afloat, and we're in the midst of negotiating a further deal with our TV partners and potentially a max deal for our pay-per-views. AEW is still doing fine without CM Punk.
All right, I'll concede that. It is still operating without CM Punk. It is still doing business. But I will ask you, was it doing its best business and its highest business and breaking records and its biggest draw and its biggest attention getter with CM Punk? And if he's such a big problem and was so terrible to work with and everything, then why is he such a draw? Why was he the highest ratings getter? Why was he doing $1 million house at All Out when he won the title with Brawl Out and everything? Why all these big numbers? And now we dip back down to roughly, you could argue, the numbers that AEW was potentially doing before CM Punk, but they had their highest numbers while CM Punk was there.
Ooh, good question. So I can fight this by saying, with the amount of time CM Punk was there, CM Punk was also not there because he was injured and not on television. And they were still doing consistently good with ratings with CM Punk not being on television.
Because they had CM Punk in the company. Do we need to sit there and try and run through everyone that is currently injured within AEW? We still had storylines that still can't be finished because people are still injured. Sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't know if one connects to the other there, counsel. I think you're you're reaching into other territory with that.
Well, if saying, well, he that CM Punk was injured all the time, that seems to be a trend within the company as a whole, not just simply exclusive to one CM Punk.
Anthony, would you say that CM Punk has exhibited this behavior outside of his time with AEW?
He has exhibited this behavior outside of his run with AEW, but if we're saying that CM Punk is the draw, if CM Punk was not there and not being mentioned on AEW television, who was the draw? The remainder of the AEW roster.
Not being mentioned, though, I dare say he wasn't mentioned. I mean, this man came back and was instantly mentioned into world title feuds and everything like that. They were willing to still, as you mentioned with Collision, going back to that, of how he wanted to leave the company and they were willing to give him a show, his own show, so he could run it, so he could be his island of misfit toys, and they still wanted to work with him and everything like that. But now, if the judge could count or could pull up the video footage that also happened the same night on that Collision that you mentioned that CM Punk was fired, of the Young Bucks ending the show, everything's off the air, the CM Punk's been fired from the company, Your Honor.
Prosecution did open this door, so I will allow it. Here we go.
So we see Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. I will still call them as their current names here. But I don't know if anyone else can see that. I don't know if it's just in my imagination, but that very much seems like a victory lap on Collision after the show has gone off the air on the same night that CM Punk was fired on, as counsel even brought into this, was a show made strictly for CM Punk. If that isn't dancing on a man's grave, I don't know what it is.
Anthony?
My clients were happy. The throwing in their side were gone.
Happy. They just wanted to dance.
They can gloat. They can go back to being the EVPs that they were before he jumped on the scene. My clients were happy. I'm not gonna say
the man asked to leave.
What? Counsel, noodles, relax. Mr. Anthony, can you confirm or deny CM Punk had enemies in upper management that were determined to get rid of him? And would the little bit of evidence we just got in the video, would that support this claim, or is it? What's your approach on this one?
That kind of supports the claim. I have to say there, I have to kind of rest there that they might have wanted him out. They might have wanted him out, but they didn't make the final decision. Tony Khan did. So
now, hold on here, but
wait, let him finish. Let him finish.
Right. Sorry.
I was kind of done. So
all right, after you, sir.
Well, no, again, let's not forget, this is not just the Young Bucks on trial here. This is still Tony Khan, who again is the man who feared for his life, etc. If Your Honor could pull up the photo from the Brawl Out, CM Punk, Tony Khan, bloody backstage. Yep. Okay, yep. Fair enough.
Exhibit 2.
But so right here, you have Tony Khan sitting right there beside, CM Punk, who's allegedly going on this entire unprovoked tirade about everybody that the council even just admitted he could have people in management who are EVPs that might have it out for him. And so he even admitted, I probably didn't handle this the best. I was injured. I'm old. I'm tired. And I work with fucking children. And unfortunately, those children are his bosses. And then they proceed to barge into this man's locker room to where it's just him, Ace Steel, Ace Steel's wife, who's on crutches, and little old Larry. I wish I could have gotten a picture of Larry to be here. To where even Kenny Omega, the other EVP, along with the Young Bucks, sat there and felt so threatened by CM Punk that he needed to grab Larry and make sure Larry was safe.
How does the prosecution answer to what happened at Brawl Out as far as the media scrum and then what led after it? I mean, the defense is holding, the blame in your direction.
So what I can say to Brawl Out and what potentially led to Brawl Out. Yes, Hangman Adam Page did bring some things on AEW television, right? Now, me as a casual fan probably didn't even know what Hangman Page was talking about. And then we got to Brawl Out. We got to the press conference. We got to the media scrum. And it was brought to our attention by one young CM Punk about what actually was happening backstage. That was brought to the public by CM Punk. I still stand on my decision that CM Punk, if did not bring this forefront to the fans, the tribalism wouldn't be as bad as it is. And I still would stand on CM Punk causing this drama because it was brought to the public's attention.
But again, my client has a known track record, as I stated earlier, and as you initially stated earlier, that you thought that CM Punk planted all of this himself here and everything. I contest that this is very easy to set this man up. Of literally the man he was mostly talking about and what caused all of this is the same man he did a podcast with when he was airing his grievances after he left WWE. I will not deny that. I will not deny that this man has been confrontational and everything like that. But still, it's not hard when you know that the guy's already got a hair trigger to sit there and just poke and prod and try and just mess with it and create that narrative.
Counsel, I do have a bit of an issue, again, kind of using like, well, just because he has a bad temper and somebody sets his temper off doesn't necessarily mean that your client is off the hook, because
I'm not saying that my client is without guilt in any of this. Honestly, I will say this. No, I will say that he 100% like that. He has a track record and has been confrontational and didn't handle things at times the best. I'm saying that EVPs, the owner of the company, shouldn't have been the ones to be provoking this situation with a known habitual complainer, what have you, and everything. They set this up. They built the situation.
So it's the owner of the company's fault, and it's the EVP's fault that CM Punk has a trigger that can easily be pushed.
It is when you push the trigger.
But that means CM Punk can't control his own attitude.
So if just quickly,
they knew that signing him, and I will digress that he has gotten much better once he's actually been around people that actually know how to run a business. Sorry.
So quickly, if somebody shoots the gun, it's the gun's fault, not the shooter.
No, because these individuals pulled the trigger on the gun.
Okay. Have there been any backstage altercations since Punk left?
Well, I don't know if it was post CM Punk leaving, but you had Andrade, you had Sammy Guevara. That instantly pops off the top of my head. That's there. I'm trying to remember if there's any others here that I might have missed, but they all feel like they, run together because, again, it seems to be a common trend of dirt sheet issues and everything coming out from the backstage locker room to Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, etc.
Is there any evidence of that, or is that just a claim?
As a claim, I'll take it as a claim. You can strike that from the record. I'll take that.
Okay. Interesting. Prosecution, Mr. Anthony. You said backstage morale in the absence of Punk has been better.
I did say that.
So no incidences similar to a Punk situation since Punk stepped away.
No incidences to where I feel like NDAs had to be involved. When CM Punk was there was 2 physical fights. If we're talking about the Sammy Guevara and Andrade incident, I'm not really sure what happened there. Not sure if it was a physical fight, but we do know it was 2 physical fights that involved CM Punk, the common denominator.
And now, if you had signed an NDA for something you did wrong and everything, you went on public record and said that you signed an NDA for nothing you did, and that was lying and everything, you'd be opening yourself up to some litigation and everything, right? So CM Punk went on record.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I'm saying CM Punk went on record and sat there and said, I didn't sign an NDA for anything I did. So I think that goes.
Yeah, that's the claim of your client. They also said they did nothing wrong. So both of you guys sitting across from me right now are saying the same thing.
But I'm saying one opens you up to litigation. The other ones haven't said anything. CM Punk's been open and candid and been honest about it, and has been even apologetic about everything.
He's told his side.
So I would say he told his side, but I know my defendants did say that that video was going to come out eventually, but it literally came out like 2 weeks after CM Punk was on that interview.
Yeah, sounds like a bitter bitch
Again,
to me.
CM Punk bringing up drama that he's no longer with in a company that he's no longer with. He's bringing up drama
because he was asked about it. It was an interview. That's the thing. That's what interviews do. They ask you questions.
He didn't have to answer.
Yeah, so we're just gonna have all of these interviews, and I just nope. Have we again? I'm not saying that my client has been known to hold his tongue, much like I.
Yeah, but regardless, is it not possible that, you know, I know a lot of cases where going into an interview, you let the interviewer know what's off limits for discussion.
Understandable, but that doesn't mean that that needs to be off limits. If he did nothing wrong, why would it be off limits?
But for me, it goes back to what I just said. If CM Punk didn't say anything in that interview, I think that video would have been released a long time, not 2 weeks after he said it. That just brings me back to my statement. CM Punk continues to cause issues in a company that he's not in.
Or they're responding to an interview.
He could be on multiple interviews and say he doesn't want to talk about it.
No comment.
It's very simple.
Yes, but who's to say he has to? Again, if he didn't do anything, then why does he need to be silent?
Order. Just real quick. I will advise both counsels the last little bit of evidence before your closing statements. So if there's any other uncovered angles here, by all means, we will have a quick time to present them. I'm going to touch on a couple of witnesses. Yeah, I've just got to put a pin in where we're going with that because it's breaking down. And I think you guys are in it. You know, both sides here are definitely at an impasse as far as who, both feel the same way. Both feel they're telling the truth, and when they're as far as what has been represented to their side in the public.
Fair enough. Can I follow up just quickly on that?
You don't have to.
I'll say it as my last bit of evidence. I won't even pull in a picture or anything like that. But was there not CM Punk chants in the arena when they showed that footage? Was that them showing the footage not well received online by their own audience, by their own crowd and everything? And again, I mentioned numbers of how people watch stuff on YouTube and everything like that. Hey, shut up, we're on YouTube too. But so from AEW's YouTube page of the Young Bucks showing the footage and everything like that, the one big Young Bucks highlight on the YouTube page, 292,000 views. Meanwhile, Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani did 2.2 million views. CM Punk returns to WWE, 11 million views here. Again, I understand AEW might be doing fine, but it seems like they let their biggest draw slip through their fingers because of petty bullshit.
All right. Cross on that one.
Yeah, so two things here. For about 7 years, CM Punk's name was chanted in a WWE arena. The WWE, AEW can't control what the fans do. Just a couple of weeks ago, when we had a Jade Cargill match and a Nia Jax match on WWE TV, the fans didn't like the outcome. What did they chant? BS. The fans didn't like that. The fans didn't like what CM Punk, what the video was showed. You really can't control what the fans do. The fans are going to be fans. And then number two, which I kind of lost my train of thought there because I really wanted to hit on that one. But number two, numbers don't lie. I get that. Numbers don't lie. Numbers do tell a story, but in the end, I don't want to compare. We can compare the WWE and the AEW numbers. We can definitely compare that. But comparing the Young Bucks in the interview, what they did on AEW television and what was done on the interview, I kind of feel like they're two different things, even though we're talking about the same subject.
No,
Compare
you said that was the diss track, and that was the response. That's Kendrick and Drake. That's Drake responding. Kendrick killed that shit, and Drake just came back with some weak ass bullshit.
Irrelevant. 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 All right. Y'all made your points. Let's real quickly go to the chat, see what the witness is. Remember, folks, we will take your votes in a moment, and we will get your 2 cents right after closing statements. But, Your Honor, these clowns chirp to Melter. If someone farts in the locker room, he said something once. They have been talking behind Meltzer for a while. Quick answers.
Yes, I said it earlier and it was stricken from the record.
Thank you, Adam, for the super chat, by the way. Do you feel your clients have been leaking to the dirt sheets? Mr.
Are
Anthony.
you asking me or Anthony?
Anthony. Sorry.
Oh, you're asking me. Okay.
Yeah.
I personally do not believe my clients have been leaking to the dirt sheets. I believe all that information was brought forward by CM Punk and CM Punk alone, by the interviews and by the by the press conference.
Yeah, the guys with the Meltzer driver move and everything just don't have any relation to him at all. Don't have any connection at fucking all. It's like saying CM Punk doesn't have an affinity for Pepsi with a move called the Pepsi plunge.
I wish I had one of the.
That's what are you doing out here?
Next one. Punk was made a producer on Collision. That's why Shivani told Punk to talk to Jungle Boy about the glass spot. Nick, yay or nay?
Well, if that's actually factual, then even then, so you have a talent that was insubordinate with management. So there you go.
Okay.
I stand on the fact that is that factual? Is that factual information?
Either way, then he shouldn't have been in that fucking position. So that's the thing, is either he should have had some authority to make that call, or he shouldn't have even been in that position at all, and you pushed him into that.
Yeah, there's two sides to that
coin. I was just about to say, I don't think anybody can be pushed into a position of power without being asked. If
Tony Schiavone, the
money,
medical assistant, the producer, this guy, Swami, all show up and say, "Hey, we can't deal with Jack. You got to deal with him."
I agree with counsel as far as how you swung that around. Originally, I was thinking the kind of the same mindset there.
No.
Okay. Let's quickly get through a few more. Your Honor, I submit that Jack Perry's real glass issue started the altercation. And there are reports that Punk was asked to talk to Perry about the said situation. It was sad too.
It was a sad day. It was a sad day in
AW. Jack Perry to blame. We'll pass that by. We've already touched on it. And really, the Bucks and Tony, other than Tony getting yelled at, wasn't really an impact in the actual situation. That part of the argument really boils down to, are you justified in pushing a fellow employee regardless of what he said? I highly suspect that upper management, including Tony Khan, conspired to create a viable excuse to find a just way to terminate Punk's contract. Notice how the Bucks have rose to the company since. Anybody?
I mean, I think I've made my point clear here. Of it's a conspiracy, 100% of it's 100%. It's, to me, it's they got overshadowed and outpassed on a company that they created, and so here I have a guy that's got a hairpin trigger, and I know his weak spot. His weak spot is a guy that still works for this company. And still works for this company today, by the way. So let me just keep poking at him and poking at him and poking at him. And I'm a boss, so whatever he does, it now instantly gets involved with legal and everything, because now he's going at management and everything, even though EVP shouldn't be acting like that. But I'm going to keep poking. I'm going to keep poking. And then when the shit goes boom, oh, can you believe he did all of this? Oh, my God. He was so out of control.
Would you counsel argue that there was more of a difference of opinion handled poorly opposed to poking and poking?
I would argue the fact that a conspiracy is not factual. That's what I will argue. Conspiracies are not factual. They're conspiracy theories about a lot of things that
Collusion,
have
then. I will change my
there's
terminology and
conspiracy
say it was
theories about
collusion.
a lot of things that have happened, not just in pro wrestling, but in the general public and in the general world. I don't want to bring up anything specific, but we did on the United States soil have a very, very bad terrorist attack years ago. There was conspiracy theories surrounding that. Not saying that they're factual, but there was conspiracy theories. So again, we're talking about conspiracy, and conspiracy is not facts.
Your Honor,
I don't even know what to say.
I even sat there and said before we got there of saying that I had changed my terminology from conspiracy to collusion. So I will retract my statement and say it was more collusion, that they all work together, can bring them up on RICO charges, goddammit.
We'll let the jury decide on that side of the argument. WWE don't even know what to do with Punk. Andrew, that's what they got. Shake my head. Glad Punk is gone. Anthony, would you argue that Punk hasn't proven his value since leaving?
He always injured. He was slated, from what I'm understanding, he was slated to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Where was he? On the opener of the show, sitting at the commentator's desk, injured. Like
and it was still a draw. And it was still entertaining.
So we're saying that he was a draw for the entirety of WrestleMania?
I'm saying, well, Christ, he did get involved in the Drew McIntyre story. He was involved in one of the biggest moments.
But you said he was still a draw, like he was. You were saying
you're telling me that his return at Survivor Series was not one of the biggest moments in recent memory of WWE.
So now we backtracking to Survivor Series?
We're talking about since he's been in the company. You want to go since he's gone outside of AEW?
I was just letting y'all go. I was having fun watching.
No, 100%. Think about it. This whole reaction from Seth Rollins out there and everything. And we can work that as a storyline. Now we've got the greatest Drew McIntyre that we're talking about because he's working with who? CM Punk.
Okay. That was the best shit ever. Go. Counsel's definitely passionate.
A little bit.
All right. Last but not least, thank you so much for the super chat. In Punk's case, it's wise to reflect on when Stone Cold was GM of Raw. Okay. He was told he could not touch anyone unless he was provoked. Punk was provoked.
Valid.
Thank you so much for the super chat.
Sorry. Well, I will also bring into this as a statement as well, if I can bring in another witness here, of the 40-year-old guy who's been putting his body on the line for most of his adult life gets injured. No way.
Fair enough. Closing arguments, and we start with Big Nick on closing arguments. I know you probably already said it, but now put a bow on it.
I'll try and put the nicest bow I can on it here. I'll even draw an X on it here. But
tread lightly, sir. You're on thin ice.
I will try. When you dance with the devil, you might as well lead. So I think I've said that I will not deny that my client has had a history, has a track record of being confrontational, being open, blunt, honest, and at times abrasive with his opinion, and feels very passionate about pro wrestling as a business. But I do feel that especially the at least 3 members of the Young Bucks and Tony Khan, the 2 EVPs and the owner of the company, as well as you could even incorporate one Jack Perry, one Hangman Adam Page, pretty much set in motion the situation, the consequences of their own actions. They reaped what they sowed. They decided to poke the bear. They fucked around and found out a little bit. And I feel that is ultimately the guilt should be on them, because they are the executives and owner of this company, and they are the ones that provoked, pontificated, polygamized. I don't even know if I'm saying any words and everything like that anymore, but they set up and predicated this situation to happen. Yeah, you're playing getting Oscar send off music. I can hear it. To hell with you.
Thank you, counsel. Well said. Well said. Mr. Anthony, your closing.
Closing statements. I believe that today I was able to bring to light some things of AEW's past that involve CM Punk. I believe that today the defense was talking about poking a bear, and poking a bear, but when the bear is unleashed, that is his own attitude and that is his own bodily language that he has to contain, and he was unable to contain that. In past history of true crime and true crime documentaries, when someone is being provoked and provoked and provoked, and then the other person finally retaliates, it's not the perverse person that's been provoking to go to jail. It's always the person that did the retaliation that caused an issue or bodily harm. Today I've proven that AEW is free and clear of everything that they have done in the past, and that AEW will continue to move forward and move strong in the future without CM Punk.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much, both of the councils. You represented well. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will bring this over to you now. What I do advise before you deliberate today on a day of big deliberations, this is up there with them. Make sure you are voting on what you saw here today, what the arguments were from both sides. You got to put your own personal shiznit on the back burner here, folks. But that poll is now live. Ignore the first one that misfired. But yes, quickly, we'll get some last minute opinions while that gets clicked on and gets the case wrapped. Punk was made a producer, makes management. So we kind of touched on that, Mike. Again, one of the most highly contested cases in all of wrestling, and this will go on for years on who was right, who was wrong. I think both sides have a level of responsibility in this. I think that, but who ultimately, based on the evidence today, who ultimately kind of led the charge as far as being in the role of power and being able to control the situation. I do believe I have to side with the defense on this one, as in CM Punk. As much as he handled things wrong, I think a lot of people did. But at the end of the day, when you are ultimately the one responsible for the environment, the buck stops with you. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. As far as progressing beyond that, I mean, that will work out years to come. The fact that Punk's injury prone doesn't play that well into the case, as far as it just is what it is. And then beyond that, Punk being, a bit of a snap case doesn't excuse him from being an asshole. But at the end of the day, I turn to the jury. Right now, it's really tight, gentlemen, as I'm looking at 65% AEW in the wrong. So a good contingent feeling the both sides here. AEW going down in flames.
I will concede that my co-counsel here made a great case. I feel like one of us, though, is just willing to admit that our client may have had some fault in this versus trying to completely act like they had no fault in this at all.
Fair. But yeah, I mean, with a vote of 65%, a little closer than I anticipated. Big Nick, CM Punk, you are the winner this week on Wrasslin Court.
I've now got the field goal post, the notorious, infamous, especially when it comes to Buffalo Bills fans, the field goal post here.
There you go. You finally got one in.
Guilty. There we go.
But yeah, no, thank you both. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Wrasslin Court this week. Congratulations to Punk and Nick. Good battle for Anthony. He was right there. Almost had it, like I said, a much higher percentage I anticipated. We are back tomorrow for SmackDown Anthony, I believe, is bringing a review, maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots happening. A stacked TNA. Anthony's going to give you his thoughts. Follow all our socials. Wrasslin Court will be back. We will be live this weekend as well. So make sure you click that little bell so you know when we're popping up. Be a friend, tell a friend, and share this with everybody. Wrasslin Court needs to catch fire. But final thoughts from the gentleman.
I don't like Big Nick. That's it.
Oh, you love me. Arson is real.
You got a thought?
I was just gonna do the thing, so you do the thing. You do the thing.
No,
you do the thing. You do the thing. You're the judge.
All right. Court is adjourned, and we'll see you on the flip side. Have a good night.